Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Patrick Flynn, the Hormone Whisperer. So excited to be here with you this morning on this beautiful Saturday morning here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, covering one of by far my favorite topics on the planet. Not just a medicinal mushroom, but medicinal mushrooms in general that way. I get the questions all the time because people are always looking for like the ultimate product to take and stuff like that. And most people know that I'm not a person that likes to publicize products because there's an individuality to each person. But here's a topic, actually, guys, it's going to surprise you. I actually think this topic can blanket almost everybody. That's where this is kind of fun because it's, I always stay very strong to my premises, and medicinal mushrooms actually throw me off on a little bit of this because when you actually look at medicinal mushrooms and their properties, especially chaga, you know, man, it applies to basically everybody. You know, that's funny for, you know, a lot of people are going to say, I was kind of warning people saying, I'm going to kind of talk about this in a different way because I honestly think, I don't care what culture you are, I don't care what part of the world you're from, medicinal mushrooms, I mean, have a benefit to everybody blanket across that way. And I want to start it with the king, okay? Chaga mushroom that way. Actually, it's kind of funny. I have to say this. Chaga mushroom is kind of redundant. Chaga by nature, and its Russian mean actually stands for mushroom. So when people say chaga mushroom, I'm like, well, so it's mushroom. So it has a massive history. Now, what I'm going to do is this. Because there's a lot of criticism with chaga. Now let me explain why. Because you have the components of chaga that really, you know, understands value and yes, has a history. But what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to stay more on all the documented facts about it that way. Because some people do over-exaggerate some things on here. But I'm going to stay within all the literature, within all the scientific research behind it that dates back, you know, within maybe 100 years that way. But obviously, chaga mushroom has been used for thousands of years that they've recorded that way. Now, once again, that we know of, it's been used for thousands of years. I think the earliest recording has been, you know, a couple thousand years where it's been documented. Actually, in some of the really cool things that they've noticed when they found archaeological things that way, chaga was actually frozen in certain, you know, ice caps and things like that. So it actually does really well in cold environments. So we're going to go through this in great detail. And it's going to show you, for example, why I love it so much. Why, and going back to the statement, people say, Doc, if I were to do one thing, I could afford one thing. If I were to do one thing, I will tell everybody, always do your medicinal mushrooms. I don't care, for example, if you never do an herb ever in life, even though chaga is still classified as an herb. But if you were to choose one thing, stick with your medicinal mushrooms that way because you can never go wrong. And I'll show you why you can never go wrong. Because I believe if medicinal mushrooms were used on a regular basis, we'd have overall a lot less disease in so many ways. And I'll show you why it's so important that way. So where are we going to start? Chaga, I am the king, okay? I want to start with just actually what really happens here in Wisconsin. Actually, it's kind of cool. When we look at chaga itself, it actually has a, you know, a deep, you know, golden center and very dark and black on the outside. These are things that we picked actually here in Wisconsin itself. It does extremely well in cold environments. It really attaches well and grows the best off of birch trees. Okay. Now it's kind of funny because if you live in northern Wisconsin, when I was a kid, you know, I grew up north here. You know, birch trees are looked at like a bad tree. It's like it's a rotten dead tree, and they act because it's not like a strong oak. Guys, birch trees give you so much medicines, it's unbelievable. I love walking into a field of birch trees, and I love traveling through and actually checking for birch because of the high medicinal qualities. Now what it does, it actually grows off of birch, and it can break off and actually has that deep golden stuff, but has a black, this is the kind of thing, has a very black outside. It looks like a big old mold growing off of there. Now it's interesting, remember this, guys, black things have high zinc. Say it again, black things have high zinc. That's why if you look at like black olives, okay, chaga is actually so full of zinc. Now guys, that's important for guys alone because zinc itself is one of the main components of testosterone that way. So guys, chaga should be actually a regular part of your diet that way. I'll give you an example. I have my awesome bulletproof coffee in here. I have some very intense, awesome organic ghee, okay? So now we got all the high concentration of fatty acids there. And then I have some chaga mushroom in there. So not only, for example, do I have a vasodilator, I have a fat to actually transport it, and then I have all the medicinal properties. So this drink right alone and my coffee here, for example, actually helps with testosterone levels, okay? Helps with, for example, much more testosterone levels with immune factors. So that's why it can be incorporated into your regular diet that way to give you the massive health benefits that way. So when you see that dark black, I mean, a lot of people think that actually the tree is dying. No, what it does is it grabs the sugars. And that's where I want to start there. What makes medicinal mushrooms so important is their polysaccharides, okay? Yes, there's other things like zinc. Here, I'll give you a list of just the ingredients in them. You know, you got zinc, you got barium, you got bismuth, boron, chromium, copper, germanium, magnesium, selenium, calcium. Here, the cool thing is this. The most alkaline food to eat is actually chaga. Okay, chaga can actually bring your body to a very alkali state that way. Actually, when you actually do your urine-specific pH, it's one of the greatest things if you are more in the acidic realm to actually get your body more towards that basic realm. And it's amazing because once we're going to talk about this, we know that when cancers, the more that you're on the alkaline realm that way, it's going to be better. And it's quite amazing. This will actually bring it towards the alkaline realm. But here's the big key. So out of all the properties I will tell you that were great, it's actually the polysaccharides, okay? Polysaccharides are sugars. See, we gotta stop demonizing sugars. Our immune system runs on sugars. That's why when people say you don't eat sugars and all the people that freak out about keto and stuff like that, guys, you're clueless, okay? Your immune system runs on sugars. It's just that we're so used to consuming processed and bad sugars, and then we're dominating our foods in sugars that way that are not good for us, and we've actually become obese and have major health problems. The reason why I have major health problems with sugar is because your immune system needs those polysaccharides, the beta-glucans. But once again, one of the most important ones that we have are two of them, which are called betulin and betulinic acid. Those are things, for example, that our body needs to actually run our immune system that way. So that's why, once again, when you look at the king of the immune system that way, it's actually so known for antiviral, but then also tumor suppressive, cancer. Actually, it's kind of cool. This is where I want to stay within the literature. They do a ton of mice studies. Now remember, mice have a lot of the same properties as humans. That's why they're so experimented with that way. And they show such major cancer suppressive properties with it. And actually, one of the biggest ones I'm going to show you next. But so therefore, the polysaccharides, the sugars within chaga, actually are so available. So you have zinc for the immune system, not only for testosterone levels. You also have all the sugars there to actually give the immune system what it needs to actually get to a high level. But it also causes apoptosis. What does that mean? It means, for example, programmed cell death of certain cancer cells. But it's a massive nutrient for our healthy cells that way. So that's why the major research that they do are usually on some viral aspect because, once again, it's really well known for hepatitis, especially hepatitis C. So that's why when I get a patient, I actually recently had a patient come in with hepatitis C itself. Man, chaga and medicinal mushrooms after we test their immune system. So we can test their immune system, and that's where we can now use the medicinal mushroom on its basic quality. See, in general, all the medicinal mushrooms have certain immune qualities. Chaga affects a part of the immune system that doesn't affect other parts. That's why the wellness way doctors test the immune system actually gives us the ability to see what medicinal mushroom we use, and that's why our care is so specific on that. Now, Brandon's here, and I got a special guest coming here in just a little bit. But I want to say hi to the people. Oh, my goodness. There's lots of people on here this morning, Brandon. Good morning, Audrey. Good morning, Janelle. Juanita, nice to see you this morning. Good morning, Sue. Andy Visser's on. Jolene. Jolene. Jolene was in yesterday. It's kind of funny. I got a neat story about her. It's kind of cool. Good morning, Jason, Kristen. Dr. Ryan Miller. How's it going? Bob, how's it going? So I just want to say hi to you. Guys, do me a favor. I love this. Do psilocybins, okay? Yes, let me tell you this. See, medicinal mushrooms, for example, obviously somebody asked me about the medicinal mushroom that's illegal, okay? The medicinal mushrooms that can, yes, there's a major benefit to it that way. It's just that, once again, with the effects on the brain that it has, that's why they actually kind of poo-poo it a little bit that way. But yes, there's major, in magical mushrooms, yes, there is major health benefits from them. It's just you gotta be careful the cognitive side effects that happen that way. The chaga in your coffee, is it liquid or powder? It's actually powdered, okay? I like powdered, and that does bring up a good point. You actually, when you look at the itself, what happens, there's a powder of the fruit body, it's called, and there's also the mycelium, okay? When you actually have a powder form, you get more of the mycelium extracts that way. That's why you use it the most. So good morning to everybody, and actually my sister Kat is on this morning. Nice to see you. So here we go. So let's go to the next step. And this is where it's very impressive. It's very impressive because it's the highest source of melanin. Okay? Once again, guys, I love to pull all the research on this because once again, then when your doctor says, well, is that opinion? No, do you understand that most of your doctors, especially cancer doctors, are well based on opinion, not facts. Okay? That's why cancer treatments change all the time. But here's one thing I want to show you. The highest source of melanin. Melanin. Now you say, what's that? Melanin is the ingredient that gives our melanocytes to produce and give us our tone to our skin. Ladies, let me always say this. Ladies, it's really hilarious. I actually had a woman recently when I was down in Asheville, okay, North Carolina. She's like, Doc, I'm getting a couple gray hairs. What can I do? I say, well, you know, gray hairs, for example, even if you're extremely healthy, are normal, okay? But what you can do is you can inhibit it a little bit, delay it, and actually sometimes get some color back to your hair, your skin. And actually melanin gives us actually our eye color that way. So melanin itself, for example, gives us our pigmentation, all right? And actually, but here, why does that sound so familiar? Because one of the major cancers today, one of the major cancers, and they've done massive research to this, is actually melanoma. Chaga actually does an amazing job, not only in fact to take internally to actually combat, suppress, and actually have some recovery with it, but it's kind of cool. You can actually put it into a skin form, a skin lotion form that way, put it directly on the cancer itself. Now, once again, let me give my disclosure. Do your research on it. There's good stuff on PubMed. There's good things on there, for example, of how this actually has some effects on melanoma itself. This is not my opinion, okay? It's just that if you have suffered from melanoma, your oncologists, your doctors, everybody in that realm will never give you that, okay? Now, once again, these are things that you can look up and research because the highest source of melanin given to that will actually do a wonderful job of giving the melanocytes protectionness, actual recovery, give the polysaccharides to go against that cancer, create some apoptosis, all these factors. That alone, with the highest rate of melanoma is at all-time high right now. There's more melanoma cases right now than ever in history. And what happens is this, your doctor blames it on the sun. Oh my goodness. You know what I'm saying? Now don't get me wrong, I have to go to Hawaii next week, okay? Please feel sorry for me. None of you guys feel sorry for me. But me and Ross and the team are going there. Fancy Nancy, you know, my wife, Brianna, all these people are going with us. And I'm actually asking them to take more Chaga. Now, why? Because step number 3, because of all of the properties that it has with melanin in there, once again, it gives you protection against even sun radiation that way. Because once again, you don't want to burn. Remember, the sun is one of the most health-giving life sources on the planet. It gives us energy from grounding. It actually helps us produce massive amount of vitamin D levels. But once again, if the radiation is a little too high, it can actually create some damage to our skin. It can create some damage. So what it does, by taking Chaga, okay, by taking Chaga, it actually does this. It gives you some protection. On top of it, let's say you are in cancer treatment right now and you're doing radiation therapy. They've shown by taking Chaga on a regular basis, it protects you against the radiation treatment and also chemotherapy. Why? Because it's great at absorbing toxins that way. So you actually do better with your cancer treatments. So think about that. That's the one thing that's so documented. Look it up in the literature. See, that's why I always tell people, take this literature to your oncologist and say, listen, why haven't you told me to take Chaga even if you're going to give me radiation therapy? Because once again, it'll do a great job of absorbing some of that free radicals and actually grabbing some of it's called superoxide dismutase, who cares? But this is antioxidant properties from the damage from radiation, from the damage from chemotherapy. This can do a wonderful job during that time. So if you're going to look at it this way, if you have cancer, not only the fact that can Chaga actually really give your immune system a huge boost and protection with it that way, but if you're going through cancer treatments, right now, it's essential for your recovery. It's essential to not, to minimize the damage from the treatment itself that way. That's why people always say, Doc, should I go through cancer treatments? I say, I don't care what you choose. I really don't. I stay that position saying, I don't care what you choose. Just let me do my job. Do the things I want you to do to give your best chance of recovery. So imagine you do have melanoma right now, okay? And let's say you have melanoma. 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 Let's say you have and all of a sudden you're like, okay, doc, should I do what my oncologist wants? I don't care, that's between you and your family. But it doesn't change my job. It doesn't change my job, that fact I need to test your immune system, help it recover, give yourself protection against their therapy itself. Because anybody thinks that chemotherapy and radiation isn't destructive, guess what? You're living in the fantasy world. It's extremely destructive. That's why you can die from it. But I can tell you this, that if you give your body these things to actually, protect yourself during that treatment, your level of recovery, your level of survival is a greater venue. It's been documented in the literature, in the scientific research for a long time. Like I told you, I'm not going to give anything that's not documented today because we're talking about such a sensitive issue like cancer that way. So just understand. But guess what? So let's take my whole crew and myself going to actually Hawaii. We're not taking it for cancer issues. We're taking it because this little ingredient right here, put in our coffee, taken on a regular basis that way, now that when we come in contact with such strong sun going from Wisconsin to Hawaii, it's going to protect us from the sun better. It's actually going to do this. It's going to create more melanocytes within our body. So then now when we do come in contact with a bombardment of more sun than we're used to that way, our immune system and stuff is prepared. Our body is prepared. Our melanocytes, and then when I come back after Hawaii, I should have that nice dark tan because I made abundant of melanocytes preparing for the bombardment of the sun. See, so that's some of the great things about it that way. It's actually so unique in its properties. It's something that you really want to see. So I tell people, Chaga. Now, and I'll say it just because so people understand. Yes, Chaga mushroom stands for mushroom. It has so many great qualities. It's really funny. My wife makes a thing called Chaga-lots, okay? Chocolate, cacao, and Chaga are the two highest antioxidant foods on the planet. Mix them together, make a good dessert. Once again, some Chaga, some cacao, some xylitol, some coconut oil. Put them in the freezer. Oh my goodness, they're absolutely incredible that way. A great snack, a great chocolate snack that way. But the properties, the benefit. Now think about this, guys. Where does xylitol come from? Xylitol comes from birch trees. Chaga grows on birch trees. See, once again, these sugars that your immune system needs to actually create the medicinal properties within us that way. The polysaccharides, the beta-glucans. Once again, we talk about all the different polysaccharides like melanin. Remember, that melanin actually does such a great job to prepare your body against radiation and different therapies that way, but also actually gives you a great job when it comes to melanoma that way. Don't miss that. And people don't realize itself. Chaga itself has a ton of vitamin B and actually vitamin D2 in there, which can convert to our body's vitamin D levels that way. The properties are just, I could go on and on about the major benefits of it that way. So, can you do it from a tea form? Yes, you can. You can do it from a tea form because I know a lot of people are saying, Doc, can we do Chaga tea? Here's the one part that I want us to stress though. When actually you do it in tea form, you miss some of the mycelium. Okay, mycelium is the network of actually fungi below that sprouts the mushroom and the fruit body that way. That's why I do like it in powder form more than more in liquid form that way because I want to get the mycelium in there. And so that's why I actually have it on a regular basis. So I'm a more form of a powder. Yes, once again, guys, it doesn't taste good. It actually tastes like a mushroom. It actually has a dark taste that way. So actually I always put it in something to actually cover up the flavor or put it in capsule form that way. You can get liquid extracts of it that way. In alcohol or water that way that work good. I just like taking the powder form so I can actually also grab the mycelia that way. And it's a wonderful way to actually put into different ingredients. I put into, like I said, desserts. I put it into coffees. I put it into different drinks that way. The tea, yes, you can diffuse the tea that way. It's just not as potent if you do it in powder form that way. So, Brandon, we got a lot of stuff going on there. So,
I do have one question.
We have one question. What do we got there, Brandon?
If mushrooms is on your food sensitivity list, can you still have Chaga or no?
Yes, you can. Actually, it's interesting because you'll find out that the majority of mushrooms that are tested for are not tree mushrooms. Okay, so I would actually have you. There's a very big difference in the properties between tree and actually ground mushrooms that way. I guess that's a whole nother topic, but just to say yes, you can still have it that way. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up a very special guest here today. As you guys know, Brandon is my nephew. He's going to chiropractic school coming up here in September. But what we do is a whole family affair that way. With me today is my young nephew, and it's kind of cool. This is Brandon's brother, Sam. And my sister, Kat, actually has 3 boys, Brandon, AJ, and Sam. Sam's the youngest. Sam, say hi to everybody out there.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. He says he's a good young man. He's hanging out with Brandon today. It's kind of cool. The one thing that I do love is the fact that I have wonderful sisters. I have a wonderful family, and it's kind of cool. It's nice to have family involved in everything we do that way. So my nephew here is actually hanging out with Brandon. They're doing some basketball tournaments. He might come visit Uncle Patrick later today. After that, we hang out with my daughters. But it's always fun having family around. It's always fun letting being an influence on these young men, get them to raise up as good young men, and also show them that they listen. You know, he's a Crivets boy. I'm a Crivets boy, a little small town. That even though you come from a small town, that you can do big things, right, man? Mm-hmm. Give me 5. I love you, man. So this is my nephew, Sam, my sister's Kat's son that way. We want to say thank you. My name is Dr. Patrick Flynn, the Hormone Whisperer. We want to thank you guys for always watching. Please like and share. Please leave a comment below. And we just thank you guys for always watching. You guys have a beautiful Saturday morning. God bless you.